Advocates for clean elections sound the alarm Wednesday, March 9, after the Comelec unilaterally suspended its fact-checking agreement with Rappler. For former Comelec Commissioner Louis Guia, it would have been better had the Comelec gone on with the agreement until a court order is issued against it. Election lawyer Emil Marañon shares a similar sentiment, noting that Solicitor General Jose Calida's allegations remain unproven. Former Comelec chairman and 1987 Constitution framer Christian Mansod also takes a swipe at Calida for seeking to stop the partnership deal. He says in terms of credibility, Rappler and the Comelec have a higher credibility than Mr. Calida. Despite suspending its deal with Rappler, Comelec spokesman James Jimenez says the poll body is still preparing to defend its agreement with Rappler in court.
Nothing has changed. The Comelec is still going to defend its position on the Rappler Memorandum and Agreement, except that with the case having been filed before the Supreme Court, there is of course the element of deference to the Supreme Court, which is why we're pulling back a little.
Comelec's hold order comes after the Office of the Solicitor General pleaded to the Supreme Court to void the partnership deal. Then acting Comelec chairperson Socorro Inting's memorandum contradicts her statement a day prior that the Comelec will face the music and defend the case in court despite Calida's actions. Under the agreement with the Comelec, Rappler will mobilize its fact-checking network, a collaboration among 14 news groups and over 100 civil society organizations. Meantime, the Comelec suspends the removal of huge campaign posters on private property following an order from the Supreme Court.
We will continue with our backlash operations in public spaces as it is required by law. However, as far as backlash in private places, that is held in abeyance, in deference to the court.
It was supporters of Vice President Leni Robredo who questioned the constitutionality of Oplan Baklas, arguing that tarp removals on private property is against freedom of speech. Educators from the Ateneo professional schools expressed their support for presidential candidate and Vice President Leni Robredo and running mate Senator Kiko Pangilinan. The educators are from the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, Ateneo Graduate School of Business, Ateneo Law School, and Ateneo School of Government. The Atenean educators say they chose to support Robredo and Pangilinan because these candidates have qualities similar to educators' values. The educators add the stakes are simply too high in the upcoming elections, so this is not the time to be silent or neutral. Last week, educators from Lasallian schools all over the country also endorsed the tandem. Even former Commission on Higher Education chairpersons and ex-Department of Education chiefs already expressed support for Robredo's presidency.
Need more context, clarity, and perspective? Get the full picture with Rappler Plus. With exclusive content and events, you'll get an opportunity to discuss issues with reporters, experts, and featured guests while helping Rappler continue its fearless journalism. Join now.
Lawyer Melvin Matibag, Secretary General of PDP-Laban, is appointed Acting Cabinet Secretary. PDP-Laban is chaired by President Rodrigo Duterte. Matibag takes over the post vacated by Carlo Nograles, who was appointed Chairperson of the Civil Service Commission. Nograles is also a top official of PDP-Laban on top of his government posts. Prior to his appointment as Cabinet Secretary, Matibag headed the National Transmission Corporation or Transco. In a statement released via PDP-Laban, Matibag thanks President Duterte for the appointment and says he would make sure the important policy issues of President Duterte are acted upon and the Duterte legacy is properly established. President Rodrigo Duterte also appoints his palace aide from Davao City, Presidential Management Staff or PMS Undersecretary Anderson Lo as Deputy Ombudsman for Mindanao. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea confirms the appointment. Lo is the second close Duterte associate to get a high-ranking position at the Office of the Ombudsman. Duterte earlier appointed his former legal consultant Warren Leong to be overall Deputy Ombudsman. The Department of Health or DOH sees no increase in COVID-19 cases during the first week of Alert Level 1 status in Metro Manila and 38 other areas. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire says, at present, we have not seen any increase in COVID-19 cases since we have implemented Alert Level 1 in several areas in the country. However, the government continues to remind the public to comply with the health protocols. Vergeire adds the government strictly monitors the mobility of the public with incessant reminders on adherence to minimum public health standards as well as the national vaccination drive for those eligible to get inoculated. According to Rappler monitoring based on DOH data, COVID-19 cases stayed below 1,000 since March 2, the second day of the Alert Level 1 status. Under Alert Level 1, establishments and public transportation are allowed to be fully operational. There are no restrictions on the movement of people from different age groups, but is subject to specific rules that may vary among local government units. Russia announces a new ceasefire in Ukraine Wednesday, March 9, to let civilians flee besieged cities. This comes after days of mostly failed promises that have left hundreds of thousands trapped without access to medicine or fresh water. Wednesday's announcement of silence is similar to one on Tuesday, March 8, that promised safe passage from the cities of Kiev, Kharkiv, Cherniv, Sumy, and Mariupol. So far, only one corridor has been opened out of Sumy on Tuesday. Ukraine says it has agreed to halt fire between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. to let civilians escape besieged cities through 6 corridors. The greatest alarm has been sounded over Mariupol, a southern port totally surrounded by Russian troops for more than a week. Red Cross describes the situation in the area faced by civilians as apocalyptic. More than 2 million people have fled Ukraine since President Vladimir Putin launched the invasion nearly 2 weeks ago.